Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of decisions, big and small, and often we are faced with moments where emotions guide our choices. It's easy to be swayed by how we feel in the moment. Whether it's frustration, excitement, anger, or even joy, emotions can cloud our judgment. But here's the truth. Moving with strategy, not emotions, is the key to success. When we allow emotions to take the lead, we often find ourselves making hasty decisions, acting impulsively, and regretting our actions later. But when we move strategically, we create a path that's thoughtful, clear, and sustainable. When we allow our emotions to dictate our actions, we often find ourselves reacting impulsively. It's like being swept away by a current that takes us wherever it wants, without any control over where we're headed. Emotions such as anger, excitement, fear, or even overwhelming happiness can cloud our judgment and lead us to make decisions we might regret later. But when we take a step back and approach situations with strategy, we gain control over the direction of our lives. Strategy is the foundation of clear and purposeful decision making. It helps us slow down, take a moment to evaluate the situation, and think through the consequences of our actions. Instead of acting on what we feel in the moment, we act based on what we know and what we want to achieve. This doesn't mean we suppress our emotions. Rather, it means we learn how to manage them and not let them control us. Emotions are powerful. They're signals that can teach us about what's happening inside, but they don't always have the best advice when it comes to making important decisions. Take a moment to think about the times when you've acted purely out of emotion. How many times has anger pushed you to say something you didn't mean? Or perhaps excitement led you to make a decision too quickly without thinking it through. It's easy to get caught up in the moment and let emotions drive us. But when we make decisions from a place of emotion, they tend to be short-sighted. We focus on the immediate feeling rather than considering the long-term impact. On the other hand, when we use strategy, we approach decisions with a sense of purpose. We understand the bigger picture. We ask ourselves questions like, what do I want to achieve here? Or how will this decision affect my future? Strategy involves considering all the possibilities, weighing the pros and cons, and staying aligned with our long-term goals. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about using them to inform our decisions, not to control them. For example, in a difficult situation, like a disagreement with someone, emotions might tell you to lash out, to express your anger right away. But if you move with strategy, you step back, breathe, and think about the most effective way to communicate your feelings. You focus on the end goal, finding a resolution, maintaining a relationship, or preserving your peace of mind rather than simply giving in to the immediate impulse to react. Strategy helps us make decisions that align with our values, goals, and vision for the future. Moving strategically also means understanding that not everything requires immediate action. Emotions can make us feel like we need to do something right now, but the best choices are often made when we take the time to reflect. This doesn't mean we procrastinate or avoid decisions, but rather that we allow ourselves the space to think through the options and approach the situation in a way that makes the most sense where we want to go. Strategic thinking gives us the confidence to wait for the right moment, rather than being rushed into a decision we might regret later. When we rely on emotions, we allow our immediate feelings to dictate the course of our lives. But when we move with strategy, we gain control. We begin to make choices that reflect our deeper values, our true desires, and our long-term goals. We move with purpose and intention, not just in reaction to the world around us. By learning to separate emotions from decisions, we empower ourselves to take charge of our lives, create the outcomes we want, and live a life that is aligned with our vision. Emotions are a natural part of being human, and they often serve as important signals to our internal world. They can point us toward things that matter deeply to us, like our values, desires, or fears. However, when we let emotions control our decisions, they can easily cloud our judgment and lead us down paths that don't align with our best interests. Emotional decision making, while human, is not always wise. Our emotions are often influenced by external factors, such as stress, pressure, or even what we've eaten that day. And in those moments, it's easy to make a decision based purely on how we feel, rather than on rational thought. This emotional response may feel satisfying in the short term, but it often comes with long-term consequences that could have been avoided with a more strategic approach. For instance, when we are angry or frustrated, the urge to act on those emotions can be overwhelming. Think about a time when someone said something that upset you, and in that moment, the only thing you could think about was responding in a way that matched your anger. You may have lashed out, said something hurtful, or even ended up in a situation where you felt worse afterward. In those moments, your emotions were in control, and they led you to act impulsively. What you might have missed in that heat of the moment was the fact that taking a step back and allowing yourself to think logically could have provided a better solution. By pausing, you could have calmed down and responded in a more thoughtful, measured way, which would have served your interests better in the long run. Emotions can also cloud our judgment when we are faced with excitement or euphoria. Have you ever made a purchase, booked a trip, or even made a significant life decision because you were carried away by a moment of excitement, only to regret it later? Maybe you splurged on something you didn't need or made a commitment that turned out to be more complicated than you anticipated. In these situations, the emotion of excitement overshadowed the strategy and foresight necessary to make an informed decision. A calm, strategic approach would have led to taking a moment to assess the pros and cons, consider the financial impact, or evaluate the long-term consequences before taking action. But in the moment, excitement may have seemed like a good enough reason to move forward without looking at the bigger picture. The same can happen with fear. Fear can grip us, causing us to make decisions based on avoidance rather than rational thought. For example, we might turn down an opportunity because we're scared of failing, or we might stay in a situation that's no longer serving us because we're afraid of the unknown. Fear can cause us to make decisions that keep us in our comfort zone, rather than pushing us to grow or take a calculated risk that might lead to greater rewards. In these cases, fear is clouding our judgment, and we're making decisions based on the emotion of fear rather than on a strategic assessment of the situation. It's not that emotions are inherently bad. In fact, they're a vital part of being human, providing us with valuable information about our inner world. However, when we allow emotions to take over, they often prevent us from thinking clearly. Emotions are reactive, and often in a state of heightened emotion, our ability to think critically or logically is diminished. This is where strategy comes in. Strategy allows us to take a step back, breathe, and think through the situation with a clearer mind. It helps us evaluate the bigger picture and make decisions that are in alignment with our long-term goals and values, rather than succumbing to the immediate impulses of the moment. Learning how to separate emotions from decision-making doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing our feelings. It means recognizing them, understanding their cause, and allowing them to inform our decisions, but not letting them dictate them. When we can do this, we begin to make choices that are grounded in reality, logic, and a clear understanding of what we want to achieve. We make decisions that are thoughtful, balanced, and aligned with our vision for the future, rather than allowing the tides of emotion to sweep us away into unwise or impulsive actions. Self-discipline is one of the most powerful tools we can have in our decision-making process. It's the foundation that allows us to stay focused, stay true to our goals, and make decisions that are not based on momentary emotions, but on a clear, long-term vision. Without self-discipline, it's easy to give in to the temptation of acting impulsively, especially when emotions are running high. Whether it's the frustration of a difficult situation, the excitement of a new opportunity, or the fear of failure, emotions can lead us to make decisions that are not in our best interest. But when we have self-discipline, we gain the ability to step back, pause, and take control of our reactions. One of the key aspects of self-discipline is the ability to delay gratification. In a world where instant rewards are often the norm, learning to wait for the right moment is a powerful skill. Many of the best decisions in life require patience. Whether we are saving money for a future goal, working hard at a job to build our career, or striving to maintain healthy habits, the ability to delay gratification helps us stay on track. It's easy to give in to the temptation of something that feels good in the moment, but true self-discipline requires us to think about the long-term benefits and stay committed to our goals, even when it's difficult. Self-discipline also involves the ability to focus on our priorities and avoid distractions. In the digital age, where we are constantly bombarded with information, notifications, and distractions, it can be easy to lose sight of what's truly important. But self-discipline allows us to set boundaries and stay focused on the tasks that matter most. It means saying no to the things that might feel good in the moment, but won't serve our long-term goals. It's about knowing that not every opportunity is the right opportunity, and that sometimes saying no is the most disciplined and strategic thing we can do. In decision-making, self-discipline also helps us avoid knee-jerk reactions. When emotions are high, we may feel the urge to make a quick decision to relieve ourselves of discomfort or to seize an opportunity that feels too good to pass up. However, these decisions are often made without considering all the facts or the long-term consequences. With self-discipline, we resist the urge to act immediately and instead take the time to think things through. We give ourselves space to evaluate the situation objectively and to consider how our decision aligns with our values and goals. This ability to pause and reflect is a powerful tool for making better decisions. Self-discipline is not about suppressing our emotions or denying ourselves what we want. Instead, it's about learning to manage our emotions and impulses in a way that allows us to make decisions that are in line with our long-term aspirations. It's about having the strength to choose the harder path when it leads to greater rewards, and the wisdom to resist the easier path when it leads to short-term satisfaction but long-term regret. Self-discipline requires us to practice self-control, not just in big decisions but also in everyday choices. The more we practice self-discipline, the more it becomes a natural part of our decision-making process. One of the most powerful aspects of self-discipline is its ability to build confidence. When we make decisions based on strategy and self-discipline, we develop a sense of trust in ourselves. We know that we have the ability to stay focused, to make thoughtful decisions, and to follow through on our commitments. This self-confidence becomes a powerful motivator, encouraging us to continue making decisions that align with our goals. The more we practice self-discipline, the more we prove to ourselves that we are capable of achieving great things. Self-discipline also plays a key role in handling adversity. Life is full of challenges, and when things don't go as planned, it can be easy to give in to frustration, anger, or disappointment. However, with self-discipline, we can approach these challenges with a clear mind and a calm attitude. We understand that setbacks are a part of the process and that they don't define us. Self-discipline allows us to keep moving forward even when things get tough and to maintain our focus on our long-term goals. At its core, self Discipline is about taking control of our actions, our thoughts, and our decisions. It's about refusing to let our emotions dictate our choices, and instead choosing to move forward with a clear sense of purpose. When we cultivate self-discipline, we empower ourselves to create the future we want, one decision at a time. It's a practice that requires effort, but the rewards are immeasurable. Staying true to your vision, despite the emotional ups and downs, is one of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of moving with strategy. Every journey, whether personal or professional, involves obstacles, setbacks, and temptations that can easily pull us away from our path. There will always be moments when emotions make us question our decisions or push us to make impulsive choices that stray from our goals. But it's in these moments that the power of staying true to your vision becomes evident. When we hold firmly to our vision, even in the face of emotional turbulence, we maintain a sense of purpose that keeps us moving forward. A clear vision is like a compass. It guides us through the chaos, helping us stay focused on what matters most, even when distractions arise. It's important to define this vision early, whether it's about our career, relationships, or personal growth, because once we know where we're headed, we can measure every decision against that vision. The key is to have a clear understanding of why we're doing something and what we hope to achieve. This helps create a sense of alignment, where every action and choice is made with the end goal in mind. However, life has a way of challenging even the clearest of visions. Emotions like fear, doubt, and impatience can easily creep in, making us question if we're on the right path. For example, when we encounter failure, it's natural to feel disheartened. Failure might trigger feelings of self-doubt or frustration, and in these moments it's tempting to abandon our vision altogether. But abandoning our vision in response to failure is not only a mistake, but it's also a missed opportunity to learn and grow. Every setback is a lesson that brings us closer to our goals, as long as we stay true to our vision. The same is true when things get difficult. We might feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or like the finish line is just too far away. But this is where strategy comes in. Instead of letting emotions like burnout or frustration make the decision for us, we pause, reflect, and realign ourselves with our vision. In these moments, it's easy to feel like taking a shortcut or choosing an easier path will bring instant relief. But these quick fixes often lead to regret in the long run, as they may stray us further from what we truly want. Staying true to our vision requires us to resist the urge for immediate comfort and push through the challenges with the bigger picture in mind. Another powerful element of staying true to your vision is the discipline to say no to things that do not align with it. In a world full of distractions and opportunities that seem appealing in the moment, saying no can be difficult. But every time we say yes to something that doesn't align with our vision, we take our focus away from what matters most. This is not always easy, as it can involve making tough choices and setting boundaries with people or situations that pull us in different directions. However, the ability to say no is a sign of strength and clarity. It shows that we are committed to our vision and that we value our time and energy. Staying true to your vision also means understanding that the road will not always be smooth. It requires resilience to overcome obstacles and the persistence to keep going when things get tough. In these moments when emotions are high and doubts seem to loom large, it's essential to remember why we started. The strength to continue comes from remembering the bigger picture and the purpose behind our goals. When we focus on the long-term rewards and the fulfillment of our vision, we can push through even the toughest challenges. At times, the world may try to convince us that there is a faster, easier, or more exciting way to reach our destination. It may be tempting to follow trends, seek shortcuts, or go after what seems like a quick win. But the true reward lies in staying on course, even when it feels like everyone else is taking a different route. Staying true to your vision means not allowing the opinions, expectations, or fleeting desires of others to sway you from your path. It's about trusting yourself, having confidence in your choices, and remaining grounded in your purpose. It's not the obstacles we face that define us, but how we respond to them. Staying true to your vision is about having the courage to stay the course, even when it feels uncomfortable or challenging. It's about trusting that by following the path you've chosen, you'll ultimately arrive at the place you've always wanted to be. And while emotions may try to steer us off track, our vision will always serve as a steady anchor, guiding us back to where we belong. In the face of challenges, staying calm under pressure becomes an essential skill. Life often throws us into situations where the stakes are high and the pressure is intense. Whether we are faced with a difficult decision at work, a personal crisis, or a high-pressure social situation, the ability to stay calm can make all the difference. When emotions take over, panic, anxiety, and stress can cloud our judgment and lead us to make rash, unthoughtful decisions. But by learning how to remain calm, we not only manage to make better choices, but we also protect our mental and emotional well-being. The first step in staying calm under pressure is recognizing that pressure itself is a natural part of life. It is easy to view stressful situations as something to avoid or escape from, but the truth is, pressure can also be a tool for growth. Instead of viewing pressure as a threat, we can choose to see it as an opportunity to rise to the occasion. This shift in mindset is critical because it allows us to approach challenges with a more positive, proactive attitude. When we view pressure as something that can be managed and even used to our advantage, we become less overwhelmed by it. One of the key ways to stay calm under pressure is by focusing on our breath. It might sound simple, but deep breathing can be an incredibly powerful tool to calm the nervous system. When we are stressed or anxious, our breathing often becomes shallow and rapid, which only amplifies our sense of panic. By taking a few slow, deep breaths, we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us relax and regain control over our emotions. When we consciously focus on our breathing, we give ourselves a moment to pause and gather our thoughts before responding or taking action. Another important aspect of staying calm is having a clear plan or strategy in place. When faced with a stressful situation, uncertainty can easily overwhelm us. The unknowns of a situation can lead to feelings of anxiety and fear. However, by having a plan or strategy to guide us, we gain a sense of control. A clear plan doesn't mean that we know exactly how everything will unfold, but it gives us a roadmap to follow, which can ease feelings of confusion and uncertainty. When we have a plan, we are better able to focus on the steps we need to take, rather than being overwhelmed by the magnitude of the situation. In moments of high pressure, it's also important to stay connected to the present moment. It's easy to let our minds race ahead, imagining all the worst-case scenarios or worrying about what might happen in the future. These thoughts can spiral out of control, adding to our stress. Instead, by focusing on the present, we can calm our minds and focus on what we can control right now. This approach helps us stay grounded and prevents us from getting lost in a sea of unnecessary worry. When we focus on the task at hand, we are able to make clearer, more effective decisions, rather than being paralyzed by fear or uncertainty. Staying calm also requires us to manage our emotions. It is natural to feel anxious, frustrated, or overwhelmed when faced with pressure, but allowing these emotions to dictate our actions can lead to poor decisions. By acknowledging our emotions without letting them control us, we create space for more rational thinking. It's important to remember that emotions are not inherently bad. They are simply signals that we need to pay attention to. The key is to recognize our emotions, understand why we are feeling them, and then choose how we respond. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can take a step back, regain control, and respond thoughtfully. Another way to stay calm is by maintaining perspective. It's easy to blow situations out of proportion when we're under pressure. We might perceive a small setback as a disaster or a minor conflict as an insurmountable obstacle. But when we take a step back and evaluate the situation from a broader perspective, we often realize that it is not as dire as it initially seemed. Maintaining perspective allows us to keep things in context and reminds us that many challenges are temporary. By reminding ourselves that pressure is a part of life and that we have the ability to navigate through it, we reduce the sense of urgency and panic. Staying calm under pressure requires self-compassion. It's important to recognize that we are human and that we cannot be perfect all the time. There will be moments when we stumble or falter under pressure, and that's okay. Rather than being harsh with ourselves or falling into a cycle of self-criticism, we can offer ourselves kindness and understanding. By treating ourselves with compassion, we allow ourselves the grace to handle difficult situations without adding unnecessary stress. Self-compassion helps us stay resilient in the face of pressure, knowing that we can always learn and grow from our experiences. When making decisions, it is crucial to evaluate situations strategically. Too often, we rush into decisions based on assumptions or surface-level information, failing to fully consider the implications of our actions. A strategic evaluation involves looking at all aspects of a situation, considering potential outcomes, and understanding the bigger picture before committing to a course of action. By carefully evaluating a situation, we increase the likelihood of making decisions that are well thought out, effective, and aligned with our long-term goals. This process requires time, patience, and a deliberate approach, but the benefits of making informed, strategic decisions are immense. The first step in strategic evaluation is to gather as much information as possible. Decisions made on limited or incomplete information are often the most regrettable. When we rush through a decision without taking the time to understand all the facts, we risk missing key details that could significantly affect the outcome. Strategic evaluation requires a commitment to understanding the situation fully, asking the right questions, gathering relevant data, and consulting trusted sources when necessary. The more information we have, the better equipped we are to make a sound decision. Once we have the necessary information, the next step is to assess the potential risks and rewards of the situation. Every decision comes with its own set of risks, and it's essential to understand what those risks are and whether they are worth taking. A strategic evaluation involves weighing the potential benefits against the possible downsides. For example, when considering a new job opportunity, it's important to think beyond the salary and benefits. What are the long-term prospects for growth? How does the company's culture align with your values? What are the potential challenges you might face in this role? By considering all these factors, you can make a more informed decision about whether the opportunity is truly worth pursuing. Another crucial part of evaluating a situation strategically is to anticipate potential outcomes. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new opportunity or the frustration of a current problem, but strategic evaluation requires us to take a step back and think about the future. What could happen if we make this decision? What are the long-term effects? How might this decision impact other areas of our life or work? By projecting ourselves into the future and visualizing the potential consequences, we are better able to make decisions that align with our goals and avoid decisions that could have negative consequences. In addition to considering risks, rewards, and potential outcomes, strategic evaluation also involves understanding our own values and objectives. Every decision should be aligned with what is most important to us in the long term. For instance, when deciding whether to take on a new project or job, it's essential to ask yourself whether it aligns with your personal or professional values. Does it fit into your long-term career plan? Will it help you achieve the goals you've set for yourself? If a decision doesn't align with your values or objectives, it may not be the right choice, regardless of the short-term benefits it promises. Moreover, evaluating a situation strategically also involves considering alternative options. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that a particular choice is the only option, but in reality, there are often multiple paths we can take. Strategic evaluation requires us to look at all possible alternatives, even those that may seem unconventional. Sometimes the best decision is not the one that is most obvious, but the one that requires more thought and creativity. By considering different alternatives, we can often find solutions that are more effective and better suited to our needs. The process of evaluating situations strategically also requires us to remain objective. It's easy to be swayed by emotions, biases, or personal preferences, but these factors can cloud our judgment and lead to poor decisions. A strategic evaluation involves setting aside personal biases and focusing on the facts. This means being open to feedback, seeking input from others, and being willing to adjust our perspective when necessary. By being objective, we can make decisions that are based on logic and reason, rather than emotional impulses or personal biases. Strategic evaluation requires us to be patient. Good decisions don't happen overnight. It takes time to gather information, assess risks, weigh alternatives, and anticipate outcomes. In today's fast-paced world, we often feel pressured to make decisions quickly, but rushing the process can lead to poor outcomes. By taking the time to carefully evaluate a situation, we ensure that our decisions are well thought out and more likely to lead to success. While it may require more effort in the short term, the benefits of making strategic, informed decisions are well worth the investment. Strategic evaluation is a powerful tool that helps us make decisions that are thoughtful, informed, and aligned with our long-term goals. By taking the time to gather information, assess risks and rewards, consider alternatives, and remain objective, we increase the chances of making the best possible choice. In a world where quick decisions are often valued, the ability to evaluate situations strategically is a rare and valuable skill that sets us up for success in both our personal and professional lives. In life, we are often faced with moments where we must make decisions that will impact our future. These decisions can range from small, everyday choices to large, life-changing ones. One of the key factors that can help guide us through these moments is the ability to think long-term. Moving with strategy, instead of being swept away by fleeting emotions, allows us to keep our eyes on the bigger picture. When we focus on the long term, we are less likely to make decisions based on temporary feelings, like frustration or excitement, and more likely to make choices that align with our true goals and aspirations. The importance of thinking long-term cannot be overstated. In many situations, it's easy to get caught up in what feels good in the moment. Perhaps we are offered an opportunity that promises quick rewards, but the long-term consequences are uncertain. Or we may be faced with a challenge that seems insurmountable in the short term, and our immediate reaction is to avoid it, rather than working through it for the greater benefit. But when we shift our mindset to focus on the long term, we gain the clarity needed to see the potential rewards beyond the initial challenges or excitement. One of the most common areas where we fail to think long term is in our careers. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to focus on short-term gains like landing a new job or getting a promotion. However, these achievements, while important, are not the end goal. The real question is, what kind of long-term career path do we want to build? Are we working towards something meaningful, something that aligns with our personal values, or are we just taking the first opportunity that comes our way? Moving strategically means thinking about where we want to be in 5, 10, or even 20 years, and making decisions today that will help us get there. Similarly, in personal relationships, focusing on the long term can help us build stronger, more meaningful connections. It's easy to react emotionally in moments of conflict with friends, family, or partners. We might say things in anger that we don't truly mean or make decisions in haste that we later regret. But when we step back and think about the long-term health of our relationships, we begin to realize that our words and actions today will affect our connections for years to come. Taking a strategic approach means considering how our decisions will shape the future of our relationships and choosing to act with patience, empathy, and understanding, even in difficult moments. Another area where thinking long-term is crucial is in our financial decisions. In a world where instant gratification is constantly encouraged, it can be tempting to spend money on things that bring immediate pleasure, like a new gadget or an expensive vacation. However, these purchases, while fun in the moment, do not contribute to long-term financial stability. When we focus on the bigger picture, we start making decisions that help secure our future saving, investing, and planning for the long term. Moving with strategy means thinking beyond the next paycheck and considering how our financial decisions will impact us in the years to come. The same principle applies to health and well-being. In our busy lives, it's easy to put off exercise, eat unhealthy foods, or skip sleep when we feel stressed or tired. But these short-term choices can have long-lasting consequences on our health. Taking a strategic approach means thinking about how our actions today will affect our physical and mental health in the future. It's about making decisions that prioritize our long-term well-being, even when it requires sacrifice in the short term. By focusing on the long term, we invest in our future health, ensuring that we are able to live a vibrant and fulfilling life for years to come. Thinking long-term also involves the ability to delay gratification. In many cases, we want to see results immediately. We want our efforts to be rewarded right away, but this is not always how life works. The best outcomes often come to those who are willing to put in the hard work and patience required to achieve them. When we think long-term, we understand that success is not always instantaneous, and we learn to trust the process. We stay focused on our goals, even when progress feels slow, knowing that the payoff will be worth it in the end. Ultimately, moving with strategy requires the ability to see beyond the present moment and understand how our choices will shape our future. It's about taking a step back, evaluating our options, and making decisions that are in line with our long-term vision. When we shift our mindset from immediate gratification to long-term planning, we empower ourselves to create the future we desire. The ability to think long-term is a powerful tool that allows us to build a life of purpose, stability, and fulfillment.